Shota Fujiwara, now 28 years old, stepped into the hotel venue where his high school reunion was being held. Inside, old classmates greeted each other, and the place was filled with smiling faces, excited to reconnect. But among them were some familiar faces he still found unpleasant, just like in his high school days.
Hey, isn't that Shota, the guy who didn't even go to college, still stuck at the bottom?
Ono, just like in high school, acted arrogant, drawing snickers from those around him.
Wow, you still look unimpressive as ever. You never went to college, right? Probably doing part-time gigs or something?
Misaki, once the class queen, gave him a scornful smile.
Well, I'm managing somehow.
Though Shota brushed it off lightly, inside he was sick of the same old scene. Back in high school, he always ranked at the bottom and got mocked constantly. Even after 10 years, it seemed that dynamic hadn't changed. Suddenly, Ono tapped the watch on his wrist, smiling as he showed it off.
Man, work's been crazy good lately. Check this out.
A high-end brand watch gleamed on his wrist.
Whoa, that's awesome! That one's super expensive, right?
Yeah, pretty much. And today I rolled up in something extra special.
Saying that, Ono pointed outside. Parked there was a gleaming luxury sports car.
No way, that's insane. How do you even afford a car like that?
A guy who gets results earns a fitting reward, you know.
Grinning smugly, Ono twirled his watch and sipped champagne. Seeing this, Shota merely lifted his own glass in silence.
But hey, Hirano's amazing, right? I heard he's on track for an executive position at a huge company now.
With that comment, the topic shifted to Hirano.
And he's still super good looking. He's really living the dream.
Just then, the doors to the venue opened. Standing there, as elegant as ever, was Hirano.
Whoa, it's Hirano!
In an instant, the atmosphere changed. The girls squealed and rushed over to him. Hirano, looking sharp in his suit, gave a polite nod with a smile, making the girls squeal even more. Ono approached him with a friendliness, as though they were best pals.
Hey, Hirano, long time no see. You're still incredible, man.
Watching them, Shota quietly exhaled. With all eyes on him, Hirano continued walking calmly, looking composed as ever. Girls crowded around him one after another, showing he was as popular as ever.
Hirano, you've gotten so handsome.
Seriously, you look more amazing than ever.
Hirano gave a gentle smile, responding moderately as he made his way through the crowd. In the midst of it, Ono sidled up to Hirano again, acting overfamiliar.
Hey, Hirano, I heard you're going to be a big shot at your company. Well, you've always been a brainiac. You've definitely got something special.
Ono behaved like they were old buddies, causing Shota to let out a small sigh. Ono had always been this way in high school, sucking up to those he deemed strong and looking down on the weak. It seemed that hadn't changed. But in the next moment, Hirano noticed Shota and suddenly changed his demeanor.
Good evening, President.
The moment those words dropped, the venue went silent. Huh? President? Whispers spread everywhere. Misaki stared at Shota in shock.
President, you mean Shota?
Her words made everyone turn their gaze to Shota.
Hey, quit joking. This guy's a president? That can't be true.
Ono's face showed obvious distress. Yet Hirano turned to Shota with a serious expression.
Regarding that acquisition we discussed, the contracts are officially signed. All that remains are minor adjustments.
That statement threw the crowd into further confusion. Not just Ono and Misaki, nobody could wrap their heads around the situation.
An acquisition? What company are you talking about?
Ono sounded panicked and confused.
Nihon Middle Construction. They're a mid-tier construction firm that's been booming recently.
At that, Ono's face tensed even more.
Wait, Nihon Middle Construction? They're the ones who grew fast doing infrastructure projects, right?
That's huge. Buying out a company like that must be massive.
A buzz spread through the room, leaving Ono and Misaki speechless.
Got it. We'll go over the details later.
Everyone was taken aback by his calm manner. The guy they'd been mocking just moments ago had turned out to be a successful big shot. The entire mood at the reunion changed. Shota, sensing everyone's stares, simply took his glass and drank from it. Once considered an underachiever, he was now a success story. This reunion was unfolding in a way no one expected, including him. A hush fell over the crowd, everyone stunned by the gap between Shota's past and his present. In high school, he was ridiculed for being at the bottom of the class, but that was old news now. Shota had founded Fujiwara Construction, leading the digital transformation of the industry with a unique management system that fueled rapid growth. He was already working with major corporations, aiming to go public next year. Ono and Misaki looked at Shota as if they couldn't believe their eyes.
Shota, why didn't you tell me sooner? I'm so shocked you've become such a big deal.
Misaki gave a playful smile and subtly tried to close the distance between them.
How about we catch up over dinner sometime? I'd love to talk about old times.
Once known as the class queen who looked down on him, her attitude had completely changed. But Shota, without smiling, responded flatly.
Sorry, Misaki. I never went to college, so I'm clueless about table manners. I'll pass.
Misaki's face froze. Shota said nothing more, just sipped his drink. His gaze then drifted to a corner of the venue. There stood Rika Imai, his first crush. She wasn't dressed flashily, but her calm aura and gentle smile were the same as before, as she chatted with friends. Nostalgia washed over Shota, along with the memory of his once faint feelings for her. His heart pounded faster as he mustered the courage to walk over and speak.
Rika, long time no see.
But she simply looked surprised, lowered her eyes, and left without a word, as if she were avoiding him. Watching her leave, Shota felt something stir inside him. He wasn't the same as before. Now he could face her confidently. So why was she avoiding him? He had no answer yet. Eventually, the reunion ended, and classmates headed home one after another. Shota took one last look around the venue. Rika Imai was already gone. Feeling a slight sting in his chest, Shota quietly left the hall. The next morning, on his way to the office, Shota thought back to Rika's attitude the previous night. She'd shown a startled expression, then immediately turned away and left almost dismissively, as if rejecting his very presence. He wondered why. He kept asking himself that, but found no answer. He was different now. He was sure he could face her openly. Yet without understanding her distance, he felt a small thorn in his chest. Upon arriving at the office, Hirano approached him right away. He held some documents and wore a slightly uneasy look.
Good morning, boss. There was something bothering me at yesterday's reunion, so I did a little digging.
Something bothering you?
Shota took a seat at his desk and observed Hirano.
It's about Rika Imai. Her family runs Imai Construction, and it seems they're in pretty serious trouble these days.
Shota's expression clouded slightly at that.
Imai Construction. They supply building materials, right?
Yes. We had some dealings with them a while back, but our contracts have declined over the last few years. And that's not the only issue.
Choosing his words carefully, Hirano handed over some documents.
Apparently they suddenly lost a major client recently. That's put them in a severe cash crunch, and they haven't been able to pay their workers.
Shota flipped through the pages, seeing the stark numbers showing a rapid downturn. A big drop in sales, rising debt, and a loss of trust, signs of a serious crisis.
Why would that happen so abruptly?
That's the problem. Something about this seems suspicious.
Hirano paused, then locked eyes with Shota.
Imai Construction had that project lined up, but midway, it got reassigned to another contractor. And for some reason, they haven't been paid a dime.
What's that supposed to mean?
Shota furrowed his brow, feeling a bad premonition.
Based on my research, the company that took over the project is one of our subcontractors, the one Ono works at.
Shota was momentarily speechless. Could his old classmate's firm be behind Rika's family company's downfall? Suddenly, he recalled Rika's behavior at the reunion. Could it be related? A vague sense of unease spread through Shota. He had no clear answer, but a heavy feeling clung to him. He sensed this was just the beginning.
We can't be certain Ono's company did this on purpose, right?
Yes, it's only circumstantial evidence. We need to check other projects for a similar pattern.
Shota took a deep breath and closed the files.
All right, look into the details more. If there's really an issue, we'll have to figure out how to handle it.
And so, without knowing it, Shota found himself stepping into a problem involving Rika's family. After hearing Hirano's report, Shota immediately reached out to Imai Construction. He set up an official visit to speak directly with their president. That afternoon, Shota drove to Imai Construction. Imai Construction, founded decades ago, was once a well-respected local builder. But now they were struggling, and the office atmosphere felt heavy. As Shota entered, a middle-aged man stood up to greet him with a stern look. It was Rika's father.
President Fujiwara, to what do we owe this visit?
There was obvious wariness in his tone.
Sorry for the sudden drop-in. I'd like to ask you about a recent project.
Rika's father folded his arms, giving him a cold stare.
Before I answer your questions, I have one of my own.
He took a deep breath, continuing with obvious bitterness.
I've heard your company stopped our payments. Is that true?
For a moment, Shota didn't know what to say.
Stopped payments? That's news to me.
So you say, but in reality we were suddenly pulled off a project we were supposed to do, and the money we were owed stopped midway.
His words were laced with the frustration of seeing his long-earned trust collapse.
Could you tell me exactly what happened? We need to clarify the facts as well.
After some thought, Rika's father led Shota to a reception room. The two sat facing each other, and their conversation began quietly.
We're investigating a project ordered to your company by Big Deal Construction, one of our subcontractors. I've heard your contract was suddenly canceled, the rest of the project given to another firm, and you haven't been paid. Could you give me more details?
Rika's father looked a bit surprised, but slowly opened his mouth to speak.
It definitely threw us off. We'd been subcontracted by Big Deal Construction for this job.
So you had an official contract from Big Deal Construction?
Yes, we did the work according to the deal. But one day a Big Deal rep told us, on orders from Fujiwara Construction, the main contractor, the rest of the job goes to someone else.
They said it was on our orders?
Shota's expression turned grim.
First, we were stunned, but we figured it was your decision as the main contractor. So we had no choice but to comply. But that's when the trouble started.
Meaning?
After that cancellation, Big Deal Construction never paid us a penny. Whenever we asked, they just gave vague excuses. To this day, we haven't seen anything.
Shota exhaled deeply, lowering his gaze to the table. So Big Deal Construction used Fujiwara Construction's name to alter the contract?
How much is unpaid?
80% of the original contract. We'd already purchased materials partway through, so it's a huge hit for us.
Shota was shocked by the sum, steadying himself.
I see. We'll conduct a thorough investigation and handle this appropriately. We can't let Imai Construction suffer losses unfairly, including the unpaid amount. I'll personally see it's resolved.
Rika's father looked at Shota in surprise, his expression softening.
I never expected you'd do so much. Honestly, I suspected Fujiwara Construction might be involved. But I see now that was a misunderstanding.
Shota quietly nodded.
It's understandable in this situation, but I intend to keep this industry fair.
Rika's father bowed deeply.
Thank you. I appreciate any help you can give.
In this way, Shota got a step closer to the core of the issue involving Imai Construction. While Shota spoke with Rika's father, someone stood in the hallway shadows. It was Rika. She quietly listened through the reception room door. The look on his face, his calm voice, and his sincere attitude toward her father. He wasn't the same Shota she remembered from before. Still, she didn't move. She just watched in silence. When the conversation ended and Shota stood up, Rika sensed it and slipped away unnoticed. Back at his own office, Shota found Hirano waiting with a grim expression.
Welcome back, boss. There's something we need to talk about right away.
Did you find something out?
A tense silence filled the office. Shota gazed at the documents laid out before him, flipping through the pages in silence. They were records of wrongdoing over several years, multiple contract changes, and trails of money changing hands. He turned each page, seeing the evidence of repeated corruption.
We've got everything, boss. Ono's been exploiting Big Deal Construction's jobs, taking kickbacks whenever they switch subcontractors. We're talking amounts from a few thousand to tens of thousands of dollars each time. It really adds up.
Shota closed the file, quietly exhaling.
I see.
His voice sounded almost emotionless, though a faint anger flickered momentarily.
This isn't just about our company. It affects the entire industry.
His gaze was calm, but there was a firm resolve beneath it.
Get in touch with the president of Big Deal Construction. I want a face-to-face as soon as possible.
Understood. I'll make the arrangements right away.
Hirano promptly picked up the phone and started calling. Shota stood up in silence, looking out the window. The setting sun stretched long shadows across the city.
I won't allow anyone to disrupt this industry.
His voice was quiet, but it had the hardness of steel. The next day, Sakamoto, president of Big Deal Construction, visited Fujiwara Construction. In the meeting room, Sakamoto faced Shota, appearing tense and nervous.
I've heard the details, but I never imagined Ono was doing all that.
Sakamoto wiped sweat from his brow, looking in disbelief. But Shota sensed something off in his reaction.
Mr. Sakamoto, do you really think Ono is the only issue?
Sakamoto's face twitched slightly. Shota slowly opened another file and showed him data on a different project.
Please look at this. These are other projects Big Deal Construction has been involved in.
They revealed similar contract changes and illicit money flows involving employees besides Ono.
Ono is definitely a problem, but this isn't just about one person. It's a company-wide issue.
Sakamoto, looking at the documents, seemed at a loss for words as his shoulders sagged.
Our company would have shut down if we didn't have your firm's jobs.
Big Deal Construction relied heavily on Fujiwara Construction's payments to stay afloat. Knowing that, Shota regarded Sakamoto calmly and made a proposal.
There's one condition if you want to keep working with us.
Sakamoto looked up, clearly uneasy.
How about letting us acquire Big Deal Construction?
Sakamoto's eyes went wide.
Acquire our company.
Yes. If we ignore it, you'll go under, and your employees will be left with nothing. Better we manage it ourselves and turn it into a healthy company for the industry's sake.
Sakamoto was speechless, deep in thought. A few days later, Sakamoto contacted them.
Please do it.
Thus, Shota acquired 100% of Big Deal Construction stock, making it a wholly owned subsidiary. After that, Shota summoned Ono to Fujiwara Construction. Unaware of what had transpired, Ono tried to cozy up to Shota in his usual flippant manner.
Wow, President Fujiwara, you really are amazing. I can help out however you need.
At that moment, Hirano quietly opened a file and spread the incriminating documents on the table. Ono turned pale the second he saw them.
Oh no, I know exactly what you've been doing.
Ono stumbled over his words, desperately making excuses.
No, it's not like that. I was just trying to help the company.
I should fire you on the spot, but the company itself was involved, so you're not the only one responsible.
Ono was speechless, trembling as he bowed his head.
I'm sorry, but I really messed up.
From now on, you do things cleanly. If you pull this again, that's it for you.
Tears welled up in Ono's eyes as he bowed deeply.
I swear, never again.
Shota watched him, then quietly nodded. He wasn't a heartless man, but to protect the industry, sometimes tough decisions had to be made. That day, Shota put an end to one instance of corruption and resolved to tackle whatever came next. With the acquisition of Big Deal Construction done and internal restructuring underway, Shota's smartphone buzzed. On the screen was Rika Misaki. Surprised, he opened the notification. It was a short but sincere message.
Thank you for everything the other day. My father is truly grateful. If it's okay with you, I'd like to treat you to dinner as a thank you.
Shota stared at the message for a moment, thinking. They hadn't really talked since graduation, but he felt he understood her a bit more after this incident.
Likewise, thank you for asking. I'd love to have dinner with you.
That weekend, Shota and Rika sat facing each other in a quiet restaurant. A brief, awkward silence passed before Rika spoke with a smile.
It feels a bit strange, just the two of us like this.
Yeah, I never imagined back in high school that we'd be here one day.
They reminisced about old memories, slowly loosening up around each other. Then, Rika looked at Shota seriously.
Shota, there's something I need to apologize for.
Apologize?
Rika briefly lowered her gaze, hesitating before speaking.
At the reunion, I was cold to you. The truth is, I assumed your company was the one telling people not to pay us.
Shota was taken aback, letting out a small sigh.
That explains it.
He finally realized why she'd acted so distant.
Our work got cut off suddenly. No payment was made. My dad was struggling, and hearing that your company was the main contractor, I just jumped to conclusions.
Rika's voice trembled with regret.
It was all just a misunderstanding on my part, but you came to apologize in person and acted right away for us. That's when I realized I was wrong.
Her voice carried a note of remorse.
So, I'm really sorry for how I treated you then.
Shota looked at Rika for a moment, then gently smiled.
You don't need to apologize for that.
Rika lifted her face in surprise.
If you care about family, it's natural to feel that way. Anyone can lose clarity when someone dear to them is in trouble.
With tears gathering in her eyes, Rika still managed a relieved smile.
Thank you.
At that moment, the tension between them finally disappeared. Over the next few months, they began meeting regularly. They talked about work, daily life, everything really, and the conversation flowed easily. Rika found herself more drawn to Shota's sincerity and the seriousness he brought to his job. Meanwhile, Shota discovered her kindness and devotion to her family, realizing she was becoming special to him. After dinner one evening, Rika suddenly stopped walking.
What's up?
She hesitated, looking down slightly before speaking.
I had a great time today, but recently I realized something.
She continued with an embarrassed smile.
Spending time with you is fun, but I enjoy looking forward to our next date even more.
Shota was surprised, then smiled softly.
In that case, maybe we can make it so you never have to wait for the next time.
Those words made Rika's cheeks flush.
What do you mean?
I mean, we stay together, always.
Shota reached into his pocket and took something out. He opened a small box, revealing a shining ring inside. Rika caught her breath.
Rika, will you marry me?
For a moment, the world seemed to stand still, tears forming in Rika's eyes.
Are you serious?
I'm serious. I want you by my side from now on.
She covered her mouth with a trembling hand, then slowly nodded.
Yes.
Shota smiled in relief, gently slipping the ring on her finger. Under the streetlight, their shadows merged and overlapped gently. Shota and Rika got married and built a happy home together. Balancing work and family, they supported each other every day. Hirano, now vice president, supported the company's core operations alongside Shota. Ono turned over a new leaf and became president of Big Deal Construction, now a subsidiary. When Shota came home, Rika and their child welcomed him with a warm welcome home. Cherishing both work and family, Shota continued on his path.